Okay, Merle.
All right.
After show.
Yes.
What do you want to
Covered a
talk about?
lot. Well,
We did really quickly. Yes, we did.
So I've got another picture here that I wanted to share with you, as we talked about a very ugly picture of that pigeon. But check out, you never see baby squirrels either. And so we pulled up that.
I've seen baby squirrels.
Never seen a baby squirrel. They all seem to be adult squirrels, but here's the baby squirrel that we have. It's fitting into this guy's hand, and notice the tail. It's not all bushy and everything, but look how cute that is.
That is really cute. The reason I am familiar with baby squirrels is because I always watch these videos on YouTube called the dodo, and usually dog related videos. Often it's the mismatches of different animals. Like, we raised a deer with our dog. The deer thinks he's a dog, but a lot of times it's this baby squirrel fell out of a tree and the mom wouldn't come get it. And so we've had to nurture it since it was, and now they got this pet squirrel, but you see it from the baby years. And it's something. They are cute.
They really are. I've always liked squirrels. I've got a squirrel that it's not my squirrel, but there's a squirrel that lives in this tree right out my window. I'm pointing at it, and he seems to like me. He comes up this tree and seems to be staring at me through the window all the time. And then sometimes when I go out onto my porch, he comes down and he sits on the brick wall that I have, only a couple of feet away from me. And it's like I talk to him. He kind of makes some little squirrel noises and everything. I'm a little intimidated that he might leap on me though. And so I kind of keep my distance, but he doesn't seem to be scared of me. He seems like my squirrel friend.
Last weekend, so when I was at our rental house, this is probably right after I busted my ribs or whatever, but I let Charlie out in the backyard, which is all fenced in and everything. And I'm within a second, I'm like, what is he eating? And I go out there and there's this squirrel chirping at him, so angry. This squirrel was carrying a slice of pizza across the top of the fence. Charlie jumped up there and got it. And got the piece of pizza. And so I pieced this all together. When I went out by the garbage, I see that the squirrel obviously went into the garbage bag and pulled out a piece of pizza that was in a box. All this mess was made that the last tenants left there. But I never in a million years thought a squirrel would go after a piece of pizza. Would you?
They
go after nuts. They
really
store nuts.
Weird, but I guess if you're hungry enough, what the heck?
It's pizza, man.
Yeah, I wanted to see if this will pull up. Nope, it doesn't. Oh well, I had a picture of my squirrel. It's on my phone. So
I think whatever. I pretty much know what he looks like.
Yeah, but I had a picture of him over here on the branch outside of my window. Yeah. Actually, like he's a part of. I wanted him to be like Charlie and be a part of the show. Anyway.
I've had a few different things. I got like maybe for our upfront part of the episode next week or something, 10 ways to save money on gas. It's a little something to talk about. There's things like that are very concerning. And it's a little something, but I see Biden finally convinced or told the National Reserves to release like 50 million barrels of oil.
Yeah.
So to give us a little bit of relief. Well, I do understand that he did it in conjunction with Japan and China. So because if we just do it, it still goes into the whole worldwide reserves and has little effect. But and kudos to the Biden administration for apparently getting this cooperation. So maybe over the next week or two, we'll see some relief in the gas prices as a result.
Well, and I don't know a whole lot about this, but I do know that the oil reserves are supposed to be for an energy crisis. And I don't know if what we're in is an energy crisis or not. It seems to be a crisis that was actually created by the administration. We cut out the XL pipeline. There's actually, we just had a higher court reverse the Biden administration's rule on leasing more land for drilling, and we've got all these policies that they've implemented that have actually driven up the price. And of course, this whole Build Back Better plan has a lot of things in it that will build up that price even more, the fuel prices. So it seems like if we really wanted to do something about the oil prices, we have some things that we can do domestically that would actually add jobs. And for some reason, we're doing it a different way. And so I don't know. I think there's more to find out about that whole thing.
Well, I think he said in the recent past that, well, higher prices will get us to convert over to other means of energy. And that's great for our kids or something. But right now we need to avert from an economic disaster, which is really taking place.
Well, and that's the whole thing is that, okay, so you want to convert to green energy, but to artificially drive up the prices to crush those industries seems to be not the ethical way of going about doing this.
Not at all. I got something interesting to show.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. This would have been cool for the upfront episode, but UN, back as in United Nations, backed floating city built to withstand a Category 5 hurricane is headed to South Korea. This is to be happening, and we got a picture of it here, and it's very interesting. Now, I have kind of been an advocate of this for quite some time, thinking that we could recycle plastic and create a city that I think would need to be about the size of a small state in order to truly be able to withstand a hurricane, be able to ride with the currents and stuff. But I'm not the designer. And so these project designers envisioned a flood-proof city. Flood-proof, hey, this is what New Orleans should have been like instead of trying to build a bigger, higher wall, which seems rather fruitless to me. But they expect to have the constructed prototype in Busan, a large port city, in 2025. So there's some other pictures of it here, but I think it's an idea that is this is oceanics rendering of the ocean farming underneath of the platforms. So it's inverted farming. It's interesting. I think it's an idea that is inevitable.
That's interesting. It kind of reminds me of Waterworld.
Yeah, a little. I just watched that again a few weeks back, and
not a bad movie.
It was. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I was looking for something to watch. I saw it there on Amazon Prime or something. I'm like, I don't remember that being such a bad movie. Why does it have such a bad rap?
I don't know, because I remember when
I could tell you.
I watched it for the first time about, 6 months ago. And it was one of those movies that Anne-Marie wanted, hey, let's watch Waterworld. I'm like, oh, that's so stupid. I hadn't even seen it. But I just thought it was stupid for some reason. And then I ended up watching it. And then I couldn't stop watching it. And anyhow, I thought it was a good movie. The
first 2 acts are really good. Just about laying the premise for what's going on in this different kind of a dystopian future. And then the relationship building of the characters, all of this stuff. It was actually pretty good and exciting. It was the third act that killed it. I remember the very moment that I went, oh my God, this is the stupidest thing ever. They were up in getting away from the bad guys in a hot air balloon.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so Kevin Costner's character has to, I believe, rescue the kid, something like that. And he dives out of the hot air balloon as he's saying, hook up the rope.
The bungee cord.
And it turns out that it happens to be tied at just exactly the right inch length.
Of course.
Yeah, so he grabs the kid, bungees all the way back up to the air balloon, and saves the day. And that's where the dumbness started, because I think after that he went on to that big ship, and started shooting everybody up or something. It just got really stupid at that point, where all of these absolutely improbable things had to happen, kind of like a Jackie Chan martial arts movie.
Well, let's not forget that Kevin Costner actually had gills and could breathe underwater too. So I mean, there's your human evolution thing happening right there. Sure. But still, it was an entertaining movie, and obviously.
The first two acts were, and that's when it lost me. At that very point, I'm like, oh my God, that had to do it for everybody.
Have you, you're speaking of dystopian type of movies. Have you seen that movie? It's a few years old. The Book of Eli. Yeah. Back shortly after it came out. So with Denzel Washington. Yeah, right? I thought that was a pretty good movie.
I remember liking it. Denzel doesn't really do a bad movie.
No, he really doesn't. He's a great actor, and he was really good in that movie as well. I love the concept that books have been banned, like you can't get books, and only the super elite could get books. And meanwhile, the whole premise of the story is he has the book hidden on the inside of him, and these evil people can't let that book get out to the general public, or they'll be enlightened and they won't and they'll rebel against this authority.
A lot of parallels.
Once again, very Orwellian. Once again, you say parallels, because we live in such an Orwellian time right now.
We do, where we're trying to control that information again. As I said, our whole podcast is all about stuff that people that are watching MSNBC and CNN have no idea, won't even believe it.
A long time ago, but now it's been several years, I got a Kindle, and really loved my Kindle, by the way. And I remember Anne-Marie telling me, that could be used against us, and they could, ban books. They could delete books off of your Kindle, or they could change the text of your books. And I was like, get out of here. They're not going to do that.
Wow. Change the text of your books. That's a good one. I could see that happen.
Yeah. Like now it's like, oh my gosh, she's like Nostradamus.
Yeah.
And now I'm back to, getting hard, the actual print books now. Mm-hmm. And you're finding that books are being banned, that you can't they're being banned in schools. And now some, look at what Amazon's doing right now, because they've really created a monopoly around books. And really Kindle is an Amazon product, but it's not just electronic books. It's actual, hardcover books that they have gotten a monopoly on. And if they ban those books, it's going to be tough to get. Look at what happened with poor Dr. Seuss.
Yes, but they could also be slowly. It's kind of like what Facebook has been doing it to itself, what Google is doing it to itself. They can be creating a market. They think they're too big to fail, but they could be leaving such a gap there. It's like water getting into the cracks, turning to ice. And,
that's a good point, Barry.
It could very well. I hope. God, I hope
so too. I hope so too.
Hey, this is a little bit changing.
I love how you're thinking, by the way. Just that creates opportunity. That's
why I'm plugging our Spotify thing, because I wish Rumble would catch on. I've put a lot of our episodes on Rumble, but it doesn't get any traction, and it's just too much extra time for me to do that. So I don't know. I hope Spotify can take the big gap that is left by YouTube when it comes to free speech. I was wondering what your opinion on, back to movies for a minute. Alec Baldwin. He's being sued now. I don't know if he's brought up on any charges, but for killing that person, which is a horrible, horrible accident. Just your personal opinion. think there can be charges. I don't know how much you know about the whole incident.
Yeah. I've looked into it. Of course, I don't know everything about it. I don't know if any of us do. First thing I'm going to say is this: I think it's a terrible, terrible tragedy. And while I'm not a fan of Alec Baldwin,
me either.
But at the same time, I would not.
I feel bad for
that
him.
on anybody. That is a terrible thing that's happened. I don't think I obviously, well, not obviously, but I don't think he did that on purpose or anything like that. I think it was a terrible accident. But the fact is that this was a lower budget movie, and he's the producer.
That's the big part.
This is where liability comes in.
He's one of the producers.
Right. And so when you're the producer, you're the one that's, financing the movie. And this is all those contracts and everything that all rolls up to you. And just like when you own a house, you're responsible for what happens in the house, whether or not it's your fault or not, it's your house. I think there's some grounds for him to be sued on this whole thing. And I would also say that I was kind of surprised. There were some things I was ignorant about regarding Hollywood, and I just really, when they were calling it a prop gun, but that's misleading. Prop guns they're actual guns, and they have blanks in them. So when I think of prop gun, I'm thinking it's a rubberized gun that looks like a regular gun. That's not what's going on. And I heard some people, some experts that were talking about, we have close-up scenes of the gun and you can see the bullets inside of the revolver. These things have to be real to look real. And the difference between the blank bullets and the regular bullets it's pretty hard to tell the difference between them, because you want them to look real on the film. And so, you have scenes where they're pointing guns directly at each other. And here's one thing, as a gun owner myself, I know that we learned this as little kids when we had toy guns. You never point a gun at somebody, even if it's a toy gun. That's a big no-no. Secondly, is as a gun owner, you don't put your finger in that trigger hole unless you're planning on shooting for real. And so it's like that thing we saw at the Kyle Rittenhouse trial where the guy picks up the prosecutor picked up the AR-15 and put his finger in the trigger hole and pointed it at the jury. That's like all wrong right there, especially in the face of what happened on the set of Alec Baldwin's movie.
That was so dumb. So a comedy of errors in there.
No kidding. So I have strong feelings about the protection, but I do get the fact that, these movies, they want to make them look real. One final thing I'll say about this is that, it seems like the biggest anti-gun advocates are in Hollywood actors. But at the same time, in almost every movie, just about everyone's got a gun.
I think we just said this last week.
It just seems so hypocritical, really. Why, you're the one that's, really, I flipped through the channels on, I have cable, which I guess tells my age now. I didn't realize
it does.
I've been hearing this. That you're what do they call it?
A boomer.
Yeah, yes. You're a boomer because.
But I was thinking, cable. I haven't been on cable in years.
I'm not a boomer though, but whatever.
You missed it by 2.5 years.
Yeah. Anyway, but you flip through the channels, and just about every one of them has somebody pointing a gun at somebody.
Yep.
It's really uncanny.
Yeah, agreed. I was just pulling up.
What's your opinion, though? I mean, what do you see on that?
Are you talking about the Alec Baldwin?
The Alec Baldwin thing, yeah.
I don't know. I'll never pretend to have any legal knowledge whatsoever, but I just it's complicated. I mean, he's the actor, right? But he's the producer, so that's a lot going on right there. Then I'm sure the trickle down effect is the hierarchy is, is the director then in charge of those prop people? because ultimately, from what I saw, that prop person was very underqualified and was not doing a good job anyway. There were people that walked off the set already because of safety concerns. So it does have a trickle down effect. I don't know where the director falls in, in that hierarchy line. I couldn't even pretend to know.
Yeah, it's a good point. I guess they're called armorers.
Right.
Right. And this armor person had been fired from another set recently for negligence on the job. And you also mentioned some people walking off the set. Apparently, it was being shot in Santa Fe. And because of the low budget nature of this movie, a lot of the actors were having to be driven from Albuquerque to Santa Fe. I think that's like an hour and a half drive. And instead of staying in Santa Fe, where there's a whole bunch of hotels, but it's more expensive to stay there. And they were protesting against that and walked off. So there were all kinds of problems that were happening on this movie set to begin with, but maybe not unlike a lot of different movies that are being shot today.
Correct. I just saw a headline here for one of those crazy stories in the Daily Mail about the California crime looting that we were just talking about. Yeah. Quote, should we call it undocumented shopping then? Disbelief.
Undocumented shopping. That's a
disbelief as woke criminal experts tell public not to call California crime wave, quote, looting because it's racist. This is what I mean. It's so ridiculous. And boy, do we have a lot of gullible people that fall right in line and keep this whole charade going. It makes people feel important, but all it does is just perpetuates all of this ridiculous crime that's going on.
It's just terrible. Everything's got to be about racism now. This is what the Lorenzo, his name is Lorenzo Boyd. He's the professor of criminal justice and community policing at the University of New Haven. And apparently ABC News had him on, and he was saying that looting's a term we typically use when people of color or urban dwellers are doing something. Yeah. And we tend not to use that term for other people when they do the exact same crime. And apparently the California Penal Code classifies these types of crimes as looting when there's an emergency situation like a flood or a fire happening. So they're trying to do a technicality on this whole thing, but yeah, there's a lot of blowback on this whole thing. There's apparently the new politically correct term for looting is massive organized smash and grabs.
Yeah.
It's just gotten to the ridiculous level on this whole thing.
It's so that everything else can fly under the radar. And that's basically bilking us out of our tax dollars. This is interesting. I was telling you about this Squid Game before. North Korean is sentenced to execution by firing squad after students were caught watching a copy of Squid Game that he had smuggled into the country. That's North Korea for you.
Oh my gosh. So
yeah, don't confuse that with show. Yeah.
Yeah, North Korea, right?
Dude, I don't doubt that one bit for North Korea. Not one bit. But oh my God. What a world we live in. Hey,
go ahead.
I was going to say I should wrap up because I got a lot to do here.
Hey, not a problem at all. I think this was a good episode and great Thanksgiving stuff to do right before Thanksgiving. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow and the weekend. So I hope that you have a great one. I hope our audience has a great and safe one as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too, man. Can't wait for the next one, Merle. Been a lot of fun. And yeah, you guys have a great Thanksgiving. My favorite holiday.
Mine too.
All right. Bye.
Love you, man. Bye.